let's talk hair. Now, a while ago, one of my followers on Tumblr had asked if I could cover how I do hair. And it's a very complex subject because I'm a very, very big nerd about anatomy. And I've been practicing and trying to find out how I want to do hair for quite a while. So, take whatever you want from this. If you don't learn anything, if you don't want to use anything that I talk about, completely okay, but let me just go over how I do hair. So, first off, this is going to be discussing humans. And so how I usually do humans is I start off with the top of their head, and then I do the side of their face, then I bring it down to do their jawline and chin. Then I do the little indents right there. This is a good way for me to get an idea of how they're facing. Some people use curved lines, but for me, I like doing the where it curves in by the nose. Then defining the bridge, and let me do some basic features before I go into how I'm going to handle the hair. Alright, move the brow lines down a bit, and nostrils. It doesn't have to be anything complex. This will do for now. Alright, so first with eyebrows, usually eyebrow hair starts here. Let me zoom in. Eyebrow hair starts about at the movement starts towards the front of the brow, so usually try and have them aim towards the center of their forehead. For this, I'm going to start at the very base, the bottom of the brow, and go upwards. And then I'm going to do individual strokes as I move it to the side where the brow usually ends up moving. Now, based on what expressions you want to do, it'll change. And based on what sort of brow shape you'll do the change. If it's painted on, it'll be an entirely different process. But you just have to think about hair movement. Do they have little hairs at the front? Do they have some stray ones that stick out? That is up for the character design itself. Alright, and then how I usually handle hair is I think about, well, what sort of hair do they have? Do they have curly? Do they have straighter hair? Do they have more tight, coily hair? I'm going to make this person have straight hair, slightly wavy. And I also have to think about hairline. Now, hairline usually goes in a basic shape like this. It usually swoops down, a slight curve, then it follows the forehead curve down, and then a little bit above the brow, then it turns into a more angular thing and then goes by the ears. Now, drawing just straight lines is not how I like to do it. I usually try and think about where the hair whorl is. Now, hair whorls are counterclockwise or clockwise formations on a person's scalp that then, some shitty ears, and then it will naturally follow that line all around the head. Now, whether you part your hair or not will change whether or not the hair whorl is important. Also, it's spelled hair whorl. But it is something to be considered. Based on who it is, they might have a more prominent or unprominent hair whorl. And for me, I'm going to place the hair whorl here. So then I'm going to try and think about movement. And I'm going to do it counterclockwise. So following that, then, I want to have the hair line also follow that. Because some people, based on how it goes, will not be doing that. Because, let me make it like this. Alright. So then I'm going to try and follow this. And it's going to be a very short sort of what is considered more masculine haircut. I'm going to give this character. And then following the lines down. Some people shave this area right here so it's tighter. Usually goes at an angle. Usually in front of the ears, it's a it usually goes a bit above, and the hair flow usually goes kind of at this sort of angle. So that's usually what I keep in mind when doing hair whirl. I mean, not hair whirls. The hair flow on this side. And then, of course, it goes up and that sort of thing. But I'll keep that there for now. So then I have to follow that. And I usually just try and think about where the hair is moving, whether this person has, like, swoopier hair, thicker hair, because for me, I have thicker hair. So by my hair whirl, if I have it short, it actually sticks up like this. So I'll give this little character that for now. I don't like how I did that. And then making it stick out more. And you don't have to follow the counterclockwise or clockwise things entirely. Hair styles are done by doing different parts and ways of moving, but everybody has a hair whirl. And based on how pronounced it is, it can change a lot of things. Based on how short it is, how short your hair is, it'll change a lot of things. Also, how you part your hair. This person has a mild part right here, where the two hairs very, it's kind of separated into two things. So that is how I'm doing this guy's hair. And I will specify counterclockwise. Alright, and let's do another example of a hairstyle. Since I did a straight short hair, let me do a long curly hair. So let me quickly do the top of the head. Then I want this person to have a more rounder face, less defined chin, square cheeks, by the eyebrows. And then quick eyes. Oop. Let me define a few more things about their face. Because it's important to think about what the character is and what sort of style they would do. Right. Some basic ears. Now, with this person, I would like them to have a hairline that also incorporates baby hairs, which are small hairs that don't grow very much. They're very common, especially in black individuals, and they can be curly or non-curly. And based on how you do, some people use Vaseline and different things to create little curls and style them, which I think is cool. So let me start off by deciding where the hair whirl is. Now, with this type of hair, it's going to be a lot more tight and frizzy. So it's not going to have a very pronounced hair whirl, but I'm still going to decide where it's going to be just because, even if it doesn't have that much. So hair whirl is there. And hair whirl especially don't matter if you part the hair into grids, which is common. So let me, I'm going to do a sort of simple sort of hair design. So first I'm going to think about the hairline. I'm going to make this person have a bit more defined, I am blinking. A bit less defined hairline. It's going to be not as smooth, but it's still going to follow that basic hairline shape. And I'm going to make it come down like this. And I'm trying to make my hand a bit more shaky while I do this. That way I can try and get more pronounced variance, because it naturally will want to go a bit over the place when not styled properly. And I'm just trying to think about where I want things to be, because I can do it where I do like sets like this and then have little boxes that are braided and go up. which is a common sort of style. But I also kind of want to... No, I know what I'm going to do. Instead of doing smoother lines, I have to try and shake it up a bit. I don't use any stabilizers when I draw. I'm going to actually make a middle part right here. So I'll add a little straight hairs. I'm also adjusting little things about this character as I draw, just to make it look like a person more. Because with this one I didn't try very hard. But let me see. So let me first, I'm going to make little side buns. So here's a hair tie, and then I want it to be really, no, I want it to be, let me see. Because naturally the movement is going inwards. With any sort of bun, it naturally is going to follow a pull into, or braid. They naturally pulls into whatever sort of thing is holding it up. And then, yeah, you know, I'm just going to do a basic sort of bun. A little bit heavy on the lower side. And let me add little flares, because hair ties are coolest when they have little things in them. This one I'm going to do sort of beads. I like to imagine right now, even though it's uncolored, that it's sort of rose quartz beads. But the hair whirl is there, but as you can see, when it's parted like this, and the hair movement is following this, following where it's pulled rather than its natural resting state, it is different. And I said I was going to do a long-haired one, but I guess I lied. I'll do that one next. Then, bead. And there's a ton of different ways of doing a hair. Most important thing is to study different designs and look at real people. Because even with cartoony styles, it is all based off of real people. Everything is just inspired off of real people. Alright. Let me adjust a few things about the face. I have a very sketchy style, so it's a lot of just readjusting and changing. Adding little defining marks too to show the pull and the angle of things is important too. Okay, that's done. Cut the fucking difference between these two. This is why my style is never the same. Alright, now this time I'm going to do wavier hair. And that is longer. Once again, top of the head, side of the face, down to the chin, then ears. This time I'm going to define bangs. Now there's a ton of different ways people do bangs. I'm going to lighten up the top of the head now that I have an idea of where it is. Now we could do a middle part, and then have bangs come down like this. Or we could do it where it is bangs coming down like this. But because I'm going with a wavier, curlier hair, I'm going to just go with the simple middle part. It's the most common. So let me quickly define some features. This time I'm going to omit the brows because I'm not sure how low I'm going to have the bangs be. This person looks very tired. Alright. And then bangs. So because it's wavier, I'm going to section things off. Now this is the most common way I do hair. I need it to be more wavy. There's a ton of different ways that wavy and curly hair can come about. This is going to be a lot more voluminous. So I'm making some extra. Usually that's how you do fluffy hair, is just add more volume in between. Also less defined areas in which strands are in. I'm going to do some hair in front of here. And with curlier hair, it usually looks a bit bad, and then I have to go through and define a lot more. Curly and wavy hair. Alright. Now, this person could also straighten their bangs based on how they choose to do things. So there's the bang lines. Let me clean it up a bit. I can erase this. Then it should be following this. And I will naturally sort of segment it into different sections. And that's what makes shading easier, because it gives you an idea of all the different ways hair is moving together. The bigger the segments are, usually the fluffier it is. Right. Let me also define a neck, because this person's hair will go behind their neck. And I'll do a little bit of brows right here. And actually, I'm going to make it so that the defining point is there. Instead of having a straight back part, it's all just going to be kind of like a circle. So it's naturally, the hair is going to originate out from that. The bangs are up here. This is the top of the head. And everything else follows this kind of point of parting. The eyes would be right here. The ears would be right there, if that makes sense. So let me continue parting this a bit. I mean, not parting, segmenting it a bit. And then, usually I start at the base, just of either the tips or at the very beginning, and I just add in very, very quick sketching lines. And I think about whether I want to keep the segments I put into place or not. How I want the hair to flow, how messy it is, whether there's a lot of loose strands, and then I can try and follow it a lot more. And as somebody who, most of the main things I draw are comics, I try and go very, very fast. However, it is beneficial if you don't always do that, because as you can see, it's starting to get a lot more straight of hair instead of having the curly variation that I want in the bangs. Though some people I know do straighten their hair just for their bangs, because it can be very uneven otherwise. But usually the darker spots are by the base of where the hair begins or where it might be covered, and then quick sketching, thinking about highlights, where the light is and such. Though in general, if you try and aim just for a center spot of a segment, it usually ends up looking pretty okay. going back over, fixing anything. And it's good to think about how the weight of the hair. What is sticking up, what is stiffer, how it feels when it dangles. If you've ever worn wigs of different hair types, it feels very, very different based on what sort of material, how thick the hair is, type of haircut. And for me, I like to rely on a more physical sensory when I'm thinking about drawing. Because this is dark, I'm just going to quickly fill that in, because there isn't going to be much light going into this intersection, so it could be darker. And if you want any more defined hairs, you can always, like in the darkness, you can always use the eraser tool to add it. Alright, and then back to the root of the source. And usually I just end up doing this, where I just go through each segment and try and make it look nice. This works best with brushes that are more pen or pencil-like. This one that I'm using is one that I picked up off of the Clip Studio Paint free asset store, which is just Enpitsu, and then there are 3 different R variations that come in the set, and that's Enpitsu in Japanese, which means pencil, so it's really just pencil. R3 is what I like to use, or R2. I'll see if I can find a link if anybody is curious. But it's usually really good for inky, like pen ink, or this sort of technique is good for pen ink or pencil choicing. So find a brush that works best for you. It took me a long time to find a brush that I really liked. It just matters based on how you like things to feel in your hand. I'm also somebody who uses no stabilizers whatsoever, so it just matters on individual people and what they like to do. The main thing about hair too is just practice. Practice a ton. See what you like, see what you don't like, see what sort of things, readjust. Go back to old pieces, try out new techniques. It really is just, and look at real people too. See what you like, what artists do. Try to just think, critically about others. Not negatively, but just try and really put together why they did things, what you like about things, what you maybe not like about somebody's art. And be, I'm going to go a different with it. I'm going to choose it my own path. Or, if you're inspired by somebody, go, I'm going to try what they did, but put my own spin on it. As long as you aren't stealing somebody's work and posting it, you could also, practice, hand practice. I never was somebody who traced things, but a lot of the way I got inspired to do hair was actually due to, old boys love series, such as Crimson Spell and such. That is a lot of older series from like the 2000s or 90s. When they draw those pretty boys with their wavy hair, they usually are really good about segmenting it. My favorite shoujo series is Love and the Mask, which is technically a Korean manga, and it has very, very defined hair definition. And so actually by trying to replicate how they were doing it, I stumbled across how I now end up doing hair. Though, as you can probably tell when comparing it, it's very, very different. So, naturally over time, you should find things that feel nice to you. And it's okay too if you just get stuck on struggling making hair look anything nice or getting it how you like. You can't expect yourself to be perfect at everything, and there's times where I'm not always satisfied. Like right now, I mean, I'm not happy with how this hair looks at all, but by going over and refining little things, making it look how you want it to, and learning how to do that. And you can see as I go over and darken different areas, when I try and add more movement into certain parts, it's just important to just think about it, readjust, don't be mean to yourself. And different sort of hair will be harder to do based on how you want to do it. Because some brushes struggle to capture certain textures, certain light, certain old things. So brushes, find the right brush for you, practice, and just also study anatomy, look at real people, and keep it, well, you don't have to, but try and keep into consideration anatomy. Because with this person, their hair wool could be here, it could be here, it could be all over, but there's no way of really knowing with some haircuts, and that's okay. But it is something that, like, if this person were to shave their head, it would probably be very prominent. And sometimes styles look awkward with certain type of hair. If you have a very cartoony style and then all of a sudden it gets very detailed in certain parts, especially with hair that might not look so nice. Maybe that's what you like though. Let me add a few more details, and that'll be just my first thing of talking about how to draw certain things. Of course, it's just how I like to do it. Alright. I did not do this easily, but anyways, there's my explanation of how I do hair. And I mean, it really doesn't take much. You really don't have to deal things too much. Let me quickly. Yeah, I'm just doing back and forth movements following the defined strands. And then I made this person's hair look much, much darker. Okay.